Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Courtside with Christy and Gabe right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I am Christy Winter-Scott, joined as always by my guy, Gabe Ibrahim. And Gabe, we saw each other today.
I know. We did a whole promo.
I know. That was fun. And then, Bullets Forever said we should do something about the Wizards podcast, but that's,
I do a lot of podcasts. Well, it's just, this feel that we have our own crew here on Courtside. It'd be, if everyone wants to come over, so all of our friends who are usually in the comments, if y'all can show up, I know this is probably a weird time for some of you, Thursday at 6:05, but this is the time we want to get to. So if y'all are hanging out, drop us a comment and all that, so we know you're hanging out with us. And then if you guys are interested in the Wizards, then maybe we'll bring this all over. Everyone can come over, but I don't know. I don't want to put it on our fans.
No,
because we're here to talk about women's basketball.
We're here to talk about women's basketball, and we have a lot to talk about. Oh my gosh! You know what? They just came up with the preseason All-American list, and a couple players, not surprisingly, were named as preseason players of the year.
Yeah. I mean, it's not hard to figure out the players that really headlined the group here, and I'm gonna put all of them up here. But Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, unanimous. Those two are easy. Haley Jones, also easy. The other three: Ashley Jones from Iowa State, Elizabeth Kitley from Virginia Tech, Anissa Morrow from DePaul, who might be the most exciting player in the country. Those three may be players that not everyone is as familiar with.
True.
But they will be in a hurry because I think those three are all going to have really big seasons. But all right, let's start with Boston because I think, I was reading this quote and that's what I was looking for right before I said the list from Dawn Staley. I just wanted to get your reaction from it. So it's a quote in the AP story. This is about Aliyah, obviously. I don't think the awards define who she is, but it also puts her in a position where she is in a more relaxed mode because she's accomplished those things. She's still in a place of hunger. She still wants to be the best. When you've proven that at such an early stage in your career, you want more and more. She's entered a phase of wanting more, yet is confident in who she is since she was able to accomplish all of it. I think that really goes to the national championship. This is just another thing that's like, another thing that goes onto her list. But what do you think of that attitude that it seems like Aliyah is going to have this year?
I think it's refreshing. Mm-hmm. And I think it's right on point. And I think that Dawn Staley, having won just about every single award individually and as a gold medalist and two-time champ as a coach now, collegiately, come on. I think that she understands that it's not about what other people say about you. It's about what you believe about you. So anybody can have, their druthers. Hey, this is apples and oranges. I like this in a player. So therefore this is my favorite player. Okay. Or this is the player of the year. But then you can look the other way and say, well, I like this in a player. This is outside people.
Right.
Okay. I like this in a player. So therefore this is my preseason player of the year. So hey, you leave it up to just whatever anybody's thinking. But when you totally block that out, put blinders on, and what do you think about you? And I think that's what Dawn Staley has been grooming her players for. I mean, we've seen it with A'ja Wilson, right? To continue to chip away and chop and get what she wants, right? The gold medal and then the championship in the WNBA. But there's still an individual personal hunger for these players. And she's advising them that way because she's lived it.
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. Like it's very nice. And I'm not thumbing my nose at, these awards and recognitions because it's very worthy and respectable. However, when you are coaching the mindset of young women to be leaders of themselves first, which is the most important by far, but also leaders of other women coming behind them and the culture that you want to represent your university at South Carolina. Yeah, I mean, that makes a big difference. You want to make sure their mindset is right. So it's not based on anyone else's opinion. Okay. It's based on what you look at when you are in the mirror and what you are saying to yourself. What is your self narrative? And that's what matters at the end of the day. Everyone else can have their opinions. You're entitled to that. You say what you want. This is what I like in a player. This is what I don't like in a player, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Get it. Okay. But at the end of the day, when this season begins, Aliyah Boston is hungry. And that's what she told her, that you have to stay hungry. You have to stay humble with everything. People are going to say you're this, and people are going to say you're not that, right?
Yeah.
So you have to stay right there in the mainstream, not too high, not too low, but stay focused on what you want. And what she wants is another title. And what she wants is a gold medal eventually. What she wants is to stay level-headed. And I think, and not I'm not saying that because she's by any stretch, but I'm just saying she's not focused on the accolades. Mm-hmm. She's not coming into this season focused on what can I get from this game. It's what can I give? And she's going to give her all with a sense of hunger and purpose that she knows is a winning formula. It's a blueprint that Dawn Staley has followed for her career, and we've seen what that has done.
No, and we love stories of outside motivation. Certainly on this show, and just like as basketball fans, like it's super fun to hear the Shaq, David Robinson stories, or the times where players like last year, honestly, with Aliyah, where she kind of felt like she was not getting rid of respect, and she went out there and she proved it, right?
Yeah.
But I think the hardest thing to do, especially in a college basketball program where you're dealing with these kids coming in with such high hype. There's so much hype.
Yes.
And they have to come in and figure out a way to be internally motivated. It's pretty easy to get the outside motivation, right? To say, hey, these people don't believe in us. They picked against us. They picked the second in the conference. They say this player's better than me, whatever.
Right.
But at some point, if you play well enough, like we're seeing with Aliyah Boston, everyone is going to say you are the best player in the world. Yeah. And I can't imagine there's someone who is a serious college basketball fan who doesn't think Aliyah Boston is the best player in the country. No shade to Caitlin Clark at all, but Aliyah proved it, and Caitlin still has to. But for Aliyah, I think that's what that quote gets to me. I think that's just something that Dawn does better than anyone, is finding a way to get you to figure out your internal motivation, not to do it to get it on the All-American list, not to do it to get on whatever. That stuff's great, and that recognition is awesome. It keeps us going, but that's not why. You have to figure out the ways to just say, hey, it's about winning. It's about my teammates. It's whatever, And Dawn's a master of that. Like Chiquita says, she holds all her players accountable. So they just have such a great program there. And hey, Chiquita, hey Brendan, hey Jessica, everyone else say hi in the comments if y'all want to come by.
Hey.
But yeah, I mean, Aliyah Boston, man. You were mentioning if you don't like her, you don't like the sport.
Something's wrong with it.
See ya. You can watch someone else. I'm sure. Right. Is there baseball on? Is baseball still on?
I don't know. No shade to baseball, but I mean,
there's football.
24/7. I mean, football.
It's football.
That's fine. It's fun. Basketball though. Anyway.
And that's Aliyah Boston. Basketball is Aliyah Boston.
And it is Aliyah Boston. And earlier this year in the summer during the playoffs, when Phoenix was playing in Las Vegas, I had a chance to catch up with Diana Taurasi, and she was just saying, like, things will quiet down when you win. Like, right. There's nothing else that anyone can say when you win, and all of it. Mm-hmm. Not, when you win the whole thing. They came up short the season before her sophomore year at South Carolina. She missed that put back, and although it was not because of that one shot, but time and score situation, she took that. She took that and used it as fuel. She took that and came back the next year and got the dub and got the title and cut the nets. Mm-hmm. So there's something to be said for it takes losing to win sometimes. And even Asia Wilson saw that on the WNBA level. But I think when you are looking at who she is, who Aliyah Boston is, and the character that has been formed because of her experiences so far, I think are certainly impressive, to say the least. But at the same time, you have Dawn Staley as your leader. And I can't understate this. Yeah. I think it's just, she understands the assignment. She knows how to get the best out of her players. And just like Chiquita said, it's like she holds her players accountable to a certain standard, and she gets the best out of them in that regard. She's not lowering the bar. She's not, settling for attitudinal situations, people fighting one another. We don't have time for that. That's juvenile. That's, we don't have time for that. We're here to win. And I think she has all of them bought into that. And, until someone proves otherwise in March 2023, they're the champs right now. And
for sure.
It's going to be intriguing to see how the season shakes out in that regard, because boy, they have a squad down there.
I'd be very surprised if we don't see them in Dallas in the Final Four. So, but I think this year though, honestly, there's actually a little bit more on Aliyah's plate, if that's possible. I mean, she did everything for this team last year, but I think there's going to be a little bit more. I talked about this with Megan Gower on Ion College Basketball podcast, which should be coming out soon. Y'all should check it out, and you guys should really like that and click that, because it's going to help us do some more stuff with them and partner with a bigger platform. But don't worry, we'll never forget where we came from. But with Aliyah, we were talking about how much you're going to miss Destiny Henderson, and realistically, there's not going to be a Destiny Henderson on the roster, period. I don't care. She's a great player, but there's not really a point guard that you necessarily trust on this team. So now it's going to be interesting to see, how Aliyah's going to respond to this, right? So if they can continue to get the ball into her and she can continue to post up, and they can continue to drive off the little seal action on the low post that they like to do, then it'll all go great. If they can't, then there's going to come a time where I feel like she's going to have to say, I need the ball on the perimeter because I'm not getting the ball on the post.
Hey. And
I think she can do that. I think she's totally capable of figuring out how to work on the perimeter. So I'm really interested in seeing her this year, because I think she may have more on her plate and may therefore be better.
Well, I think there's going to be a shuffling of positions. In basketball, regardless of gender, age, whatever, it's positionless. Like, you have to be able to stretch the floor. You have to be able to put the ball on the deck more than 2 dribbles. You have to be able to create your own shot. Everybody, not just the guards. So when you're talking about Aliyah Boston maybe moving out to the perimeter, I remember when I was coaching Bree, and she would be teamed on the block. I mean, we can't get it to her, right? Can't get the ball in there, but she was our highest percentage shooter, right? So what do you do in those instances? You pull them away, okay? And it's not that you're settling for it, but you're freeing space and making the defense make different kinds of decisions and reads and coverages when you pull her out to the top of the key. I mean, she's a great shooter from 3 in the trail position, okay? Right. But at the same time, you can mix and match in the quarter court and get her open to free her some space, whether she's in the dunker spot in the short corner, or if she's at the top of the key or right there, at the elbows. She's going to find her way to knock in shots from out there. She doesn't have to have her back to the basket. That's not the only way she's going to be able to score. And without Destiny Henderson and just the lightning speed with which she played the game with, the pace may look a little different in terms of that, just because she was so good defensively as well, being effective and so quick with her hands and feet. But I think on the offensive end, I still think they're going to be a powerfully efficient offensive team. But what I think we'll see with South Carolina this year is a multitude of interchangeability, if you will, when you're talking about how we can free up Aliyah Boston for some shots, how we can move and shake and get her free outside of that block area.
Yeah, no, and I think I think it'll be fine. I mean, and Tiger points out, Leticia Amahir could be a point guard too, and she played really well for Canada. And I don't know if I trust her as a full-time point guard, but it could be by committee. A lot of teams do that now.
A lot of teams do it. Initiate the offense, and let's keep it moving. Just bring it down, take it off the glass, initiate the offense, and space the floor. Bottom line.
Speaking of spacing the floor, let's talk about Caitlin Clark. There is not a player in the country who spaces the floor better than Caitlin Clark. I mean, her 3-point percentage was not great last year, and she somehow was still one of just the most dominant offensive players. We've seen 27 points per game, 8 assists per game. First time anyone in our database, in the Her Hoop Stats database, has done that. She's the only player to do it with 26 points and 7 assists too, just for the record. In her freshman year. So now she comes back for her junior year at Iowa. I can't imagine what more could be expected from her on the offensive end. Yeah. But again, another thing we talked about with Megan, can she make the jump defensively? That's the next step for her to being, going from this elite level to the the very, very peak level.
Right. But when you have Lisa Bluter on the sideline, I think she has a way. Let's talk about their offense first. First of all, they bring 11 returning players back and all 5 starters, Gabe. So let's just put that out there to begin with. So when you have that continuity and that chemistry, that settles things. I don't care. It takes more time to develop chemistry on the defensive end sometimes than it does on the offensive end. That's just my personal opinion. I think you have to know what your teammates are capable of defensively, when and why they're moving, how they're covering on pick and roll situations, even though coach is telling you, make it read like this. Is your teammate capable of doing that? What angles are they coming? There's chemistry to be developed on the defensive side. So with that being said, Iowa has their whole entire starting five back. Caitlin Clark led the country in scoring with 27 and led the country in assists with 8 a game. So, I mean, she's a big problem, obviously. But when you are expected to be this juggernaut on the offensive end and come over half and shoot logo threes and they go down, okay, her numbers were down percentage-wise from 3, but her rebound numbers were up, right? And she was able to initiate and push tempo. So not only are her assist numbers at 8 phenomenal, but her ability to set up her teammates and her ability to score downhill, I thought was really impressive as a sophomore. And I had a chance to ask her at Media Day for the Big Ten just a couple of weeks ago in Minnesota. I asked her, I was like, between your freshman and sophomore year, rebounding got a lot better for you. And a point more offensively and 1 more assist, but your boards went way up, right? So what more do you have to prove? What else do you need to hone? Like, what else do you need to sharpen? And she said, we just have to be fearless. There's no excuses there. It's just a mentality right now that they're going to be playing with. Yep. They have unfinished business. I think that's how I posed the question. I'm like, do you have unfinished business for losing in the tournament in the Sweet 16? And she was like, I don't know if I'd call it unfinished business, but we're focused and we're ready to compete. So when you hear someone like Caitlin Clark say that, it's like, it could be a myriad of things that she's going to be looking to improve upon. And it may not be statistically based. It may just be, I want to be a better leader. It may just be, we're not going to say a whole lot. We're going to play harder. Like, we're going to play more focused defensively. I know there was a big jump between her freshman and sophomore years collectively as a team for Iowa. So maybe obviously that's something that they need to keep as a cohesive unit on that side of the floor. But I mean, with Monica Sonano back, Kate Martin back, I mean, they have Gabby Williams, they have their whole squad. And Warnock is back, the glue, like she's a border, she can hit shots. I mean, they spread the floor so well. I think they were, if they didn't lead the Big Ten in assists at the end, I didn't see the final stats, but over 20 assists per game last year. And they were at the top of the Big Ten all season long in that regard. And Lisa Bluter says, hey, we celebrate the pass more than the shot, which is why it's a selfless attitude that they carry on the offensive floor, on the offensive side of the floor. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just anxious to see what that hunger looks like for Iowa with everyone back and understanding that we have another chance to do this together. And when Monica Sonano said that she was going to return, I was like, oh, snap, here we go. The law firm is intact. The law firm of Clark and Sonano, they just play so well off of one another.
No, and I think you made a lot of the point. I think you made a lot of great points because the jump in efficiency on defense was huge last year, and that's something we really should talk about because yes, they were 99th in defense last year in the country, and they were even worse, by percentile in the conference. But the year before, they were 186th, right? So the defensive rating went from 93. The HHS defensive rating, which takes into account strength of schedule, they were at 93.3 in Clark's freshman year. Went down to 88.5, which is good, which is a big jump. So if they do that jump again, they could have a defense that could compete. The other thing I want to see, and Tiger brought it up, just from Clark, is just cleaning up the turnovers. She led the country in turnovers. And I honestly, at her level of production, it's not a big deal. Yeah,
I mean,
but a 17% turnover rate for a player as good as her, to me, that shouldn't happen. Like, you should be able to take care of the ball more. I mean, the assist to turnover ratio is wild. It's 169. It's 1.69, 94th percentile, and she led the nation in turnovers.
Wow.
And she still leads in that category. But I do think that's just one area where it's like, hey, maybe it's like a turnover a game where she's not where that's a bad turnover, right? Like there's turnovers that are like, oh, okay, she's making a pass to the corner and the person moved, or this is within the flow of the offense and the ball just got loose. She has to take out the one turnover or the two turnovers a game where she's just kind of throwing the ball all over the yard. She gets too excited. It also happens. I think that's where she's gonna take another step. Again, I don't think there's much more steps to go for Ealer. I don't know, right? Because these are two players who, if you like, their potential is limitless. So of course they could get much better this year. I don't know how much more we could possibly expect from these young ladies because they're so good.
They are, but that they go into every single game being at the top of the scout. They're at the top of the scout, and they're still able to dominate. So that just gives credence to their skill set and what they're able to accomplish on the floor. I mean, that's with having the best defensive attention to detail coming right at them, night in and night out. And to lead the country in scoring for Caitlin Clark and assists and turnovers, but not to lead the country in that. But to have a high level of high risk, high reward play, it's just I don't know. Like I know that Lisa Bluter has said like she understands the game. Like she has a great sense about her in terms of her basketball IQ. So I mean, when players have that, there's no rein to pull there. Yeah. Like you can't say, hey, no. Calm down, water that down a little bit. I'm not watering that down. Hey, look, you go do you. We'll deal with the negative, percentages there with the turnovers because your 8 assists are fantastic. Right. Your 27 points are phenomenal, and we need all that. So we can't have you pumping your brakes and playing safe because then our team won't be as good. Right.
But I think it's completely but I think it's completely fair to ask a player that good in particular.
Right.
You need to you need to be perfect. I'm sorry. Not that you can't turn the ball over, but it's not that you can't turn the ball over. It's that you can't do stupid. There were plays last year that were kind of like she was pressing too hard. It was like you're trying to control this too much. I think it's the opposite, honestly, of what you were saying. You don't have to tell her to control herself more. You need to tell her to let go of the game a little bit more and trust it. Trust the game around you, right? Because I think that's what happens with really great players and turning the ball over a ton is like they feel like I can't trust the game. I can't trust. Maybe it's my teammates, whatever. I can't trust the game at the moment. So I need to make this happen on my own, whether it's making a crazy pass or shooting a logo jumper when I'm 0 for 8 from 3, right? Those are the type of plays I'm saying that she can get out of her game. I think she will. I really think she will. And I think, maybe it's even more efficient. But I also think, this is the point I want to make.
Okay.
If Iowa is going to go far, if we're talking Final Four Iowa, I think Caitlin Clark's stats are going to be a little bit worse.
Really? Like overall, like her points per game and assist numbers down.
I think those are going to come down. She may be more efficient. I think if her efficiency numbers jump and those per game numbers drop, what's happened? That means she's become more efficient, first off, which is incredible. And secondly, that means that those points are probably coming from somewhere else. And it also probably means she's expending more energy on defense because she's able to. So I think that's what I'm looking for is like, hey, Caitlin Clark averaging 27 points is great. They don't hang banners for Caitlin Clark averaging 27 points a game. They hang banners for winning the Big Ten, for going to the Final Four. I think this team is pretty good. I don't know about the defensive talent. I don't know if they can get to that point of being a good enough defensive team to get to the Final Four, but the talent is unbelievable. The chemistry is unbelievable, and I agree with what you're saying. I think they have a really great chance in the Big Ten. But just to me, I mean, obviously it all runs through Caitlin Clark, but it'll be interesting to see if I'm right. Like if her stats go down, this team's better, then we're gonna have a nice discussion about how basketball works.
Absolutely. And you know what? I mean, they won last year and
the tournament,
the Big Ten tournament, but didn't advance to the Final Four and have a crack at the national title. However, I know that experience is the best teacher also, and to have every single player back, I mean, there's something to be said for that. And that's not a formula. That's not an X and O. That's not a play. That's not a defensive scheme. That's a mentality we were talking about with Dawn and the blueprint that she presents for South Carolina. Lisa Bluter presents that for her team. And so the experience of having fought and gotten that title in the Big Ten tournament, That was phenomenal. And to have the confidence in knowing that, that's why they're ranked preseason #1 in the Big Ten. But I remember going back to when Caitlin Clark was in high school and Lisa Bluter shared that she had to do everything on her high school team. And so her freshman year, she kind of said, hey, we have some really great players around you, and it's kind of speaking to what you just said about, and not necessarily trusting the skill sets of her teammates per se.
Yeah.
But she had the game by a stranglehold in high school and was scoring 60 points and knocking in 15 threes. And, just because she had to, right? Because she had to, in order for her team to survive, she had to go so far and above.
Yeah.
What was the call of duty for her. So I understand that. And that's hard to switch that mentality off. So in Caitlin Clark's defense, I mean, she's built differently because, once you are set that way, like this is what I do. And when I do this, our team is successful, right? So it's hard to shake that off of somebody. And, to her credit, she has that Mamba-like, intelligence about her game. And some people scoff at her confidence, but they don't scoff when other people do it. And I already ranted about that before, but I just think that, she has such a passion because of the work that she puts in. Yeah. I mean, Haley Van Lith, the same way. I mean, she is built differently. You have to lock the doors to the gym to keep her out so that she gets proper recovery. I mean, it's the same thing with Caitlin Clark. Yeah. And I don't want to take that away from them. I love that they love the game like that. I love that they have the joy of playing. I love that they get out there and they have a hunger to get in the gym and get better every single day, a couple times a day, and get up thousands of shots. Not everybody loves the game that much. So when players love the game like that, I'm like, man, go for it. I love it. Like, go. Do you like it? I love it. Like, play. Just go and do you. Like, it's fine. I love it.
And if we want to recall, going back to when I was a kid, when did Kobe Bryant win his own championships, not the ones with Shaq? It's when he learned how to really trust his teammates and learn how to play. I mean, he also had better teammates, first and foremost. But it's when he learned how to trust that the game is going to reward you. And I think that's like the biggest problem for great players is like, I put in so much work. I've like tried to dominate the sport so much that I can't let go of it. And I understand.
I get that.
But you got that's the thing for Kate. That's the challenge for Caitlin Clark this year. Okay, let's keep it going because we talked 30 minutes about Aliyah Boston.
I love it.
Yeah, it was great stuff. But we do. I'm just gonna skip over briefly Haley Jones, Ashley Jones, and Elizabeth Kitley. All three of those players are WNBA draft prospects. So maybe we'll talk about them when we talk about the lottery. But at the same time, we got plenty of time to talk about the WNBA lottery. If you want to hear more about those players, guess what? We have two podcasts in which we just preview the Pac-10. We did Pac-12 and we did Big 12 at the same time. And we did the ACC and the Big 10 at the same time. So if you want to hear more about those players, all of those players are in this podcast. We didn't get to talk about Aliyah Boston. We probably talked a lot about Caitlin Clark before, but whatever. Another conference we did not do, though. A player who, again, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, may be the most exciting in the country, Aneesah Morrow. She led the nation in rebounding at 6'1".
Hey.
She as a freshman, this and she was so dominant for DePaul. I mean, the stats for her are incredible. As Calvin Wetzel puts it, every time he had to search for a stat last season, it was the player that he was searching for did it, and Aneesah Morrow did it at DePaul. So, you're pretty familiar with the Big East now. So what have you seen from Morrow?
Everything. I mean,
it's accurate.
Everything. Okay, moving on to the next subject. No, she's phenomenal. And I think, we were talking about players with a motor and players who you don't have to ask to go hard. Yeah. Players who you don't have to ask to get in the gym extra time. And players who want to be in there. She's a want-to kid. She wants to play hard. She wants to get to the glass. And I think if you ever watch her play, talking about her rebounding prowess, if you ever watch her play, when that shot goes up, she is surveying like this. She's slicing and dicing, finding gaps in there to get to the ball. So you see the end result of her with two hands on it because she goes up with two hands every time because she's fundamentally sound in that way, which is why she led the country.
And she has to be.
I mean, you have to be, but sometimes, when you have the ability like that, sometimes you might get cute and go with one hand and try to pop.
But if you're 6'1" and you're going in there with the trees, you gotta be ready to get the ball.
Right. But there is something about going up with one hand and popping it when you get up there. But I mean, I digress. I'm a little bit talking about myself. A little bit.
Christy liked those rebounds.
Give me that. I like that. But she went up with two hands every single time. And so she plays with fire, and intensity. And when you have someone who can rebound like that, that's a 1-2 skill. That's a 1-2 skill. That's not a half-2 skill. Oh, shot goes up. Oh my God, I have to box out. Come on, get off the court. Like, we don't have time for players who don't want to get in there and get grimy and put a body on somebody and go up with two hands every time and get the ball. Right. And not only that, like on the offensive glass, like she would go in there, Gabe, and get it, but she also had the ability and the body control to get those putbacks. I mean, her offensive rebound numbers were phenomenal. So
I was just looking up her offensive rebounding numbers.
Killer. Talk to me. What are we looking?
I got to find them her offensive rebounding numbers are wild because she averaged 5.8 a game.
Oh man.
That's more than Aliyah Boston.
That's a motor.
That's unbelievable.
Motor. I mean, Doug Bruno, I had to shake his hand because you love to coach players like that, right? You love to coach players who just go for it every time. No holds bar. They want to compete that way and they want to outwork you. Like, outwork your opponents. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care how many plays you run, how many defensive schemes you have, whatever. If you don't board the ball, you're going to lose. And she, as a freshman, understood that last year. And not only that, like, she's going to bring that same level of confidence back to the floor this year in that regard. And DePaul's going to be better served for it. And she can score too. Like, let's not forget that she had some 40-point games last year as a freshman in college. A couple times, right? Didn't she have like 3 or 4 40-point games?
Yeah. She had 23 straight double doubles.
Stop it.
It's comical.
You know what? A killer. I mean, she is a flat out baller. I mean, she can flat out hoop, and she loves it. And she's gonna come back for more. I mean, she's coming back now, hunting the ball down as a rebounder. But she's also trying to crush you and crush your spirit by not only getting that rebound, but sticking it back in your face and going to the line for an N1. I mean, let's just tell it like it is. That's just who she is. She's
such a cool basketball player because, like, it's all right. So, and 6'1" pretty tall, but like, again, 6'1" is not one of the tallest players in the country, not one of the players you'd expect. She's not Aliyah Boston.
No.
Aliyah Boston, you told me she had 5.8 offensive rebounds per game last year. I'd be like, yeah, great. But Anissa Moore did that. And she led the country. And so her two biggest play types, according to Synergy, post-ups and offensive rebounds. Her third biggest was transition, because that's the type of player she is. Because she's so fast and so strong and so smart. And she was a freshman last year.
A pup.
She's gonna have to do more this year too, because DePaul lost talent.
They lost some pieces.
So I don't know if DePaul's gonna be better. Her numbers are gonna be just outstanding. So
just fun player to watch. But you're talking about her height. In high school, I coached a player that went on to play at UPenn, Prince Aguirre, and at South Lake she had 31 rebounds in a game. It didn't even feel like it felt like 15, 16. Yeah. And at the end, she had 32 points in 31 rebounds.
30 and 30?
It was like back and forth. It was like a 70, 70, 80 points, in the game. It wasn't like a rock fight or anything. And,
that's a 40-minute game, huh?
Yeah, it was, we out rebounded, I think it was 52-15, and she had like 30 some of them. Oh. But she went on to UPenn and played, and she was like 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot. So I said that to say that it doesn't matter what your exterior is built like. Trust and believe me. Then ask Charles Barkley, ask Alyssa Thomas, you know what I'm saying? When you want the ball, you're going to go get it. I don't care how tall you are. Okay. Ask Courtney Williams. I mean, she's one of the better rebounding guards in the WNBA. How tall is she? I don't know, but she's going to board that ball. No. I don't know her height, but it's the heart. It's not height, it's heart. And that's what it takes to be a flat out hooper. That's what it takes to lead the country in rebounding, is, your motor and your want to. It makes a difference.
Well, and there is skill. I mean, she knows where the ball is going to go. Like it's not by accident that she's always in the right spot.
Absolutely.
That's just a player,
She's swerving there.
I feel like everyone listening to this podcast knows Morrow, but if you don't, make sure you're watching DePaul games.
Make sure
maybe some DePaul Georgetown games.
Maybe some DePaul Georgetown.
Maybe then you can see another nice young. Bree's 6. No, Bree's taller than 6'1", right?
Yeah, she's 6. Well, they list her 6'4", but she's probably 6'3"-ish. She's
6'4". She said, "Don't take that inch from her."
6'4", yeah.
Don't take that inch from her. All right, you want to move to the lottery?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk some lottery. We're motoring through to the lottery, which is on November 11th at 5:30 p.m. It's like before the Maryland South Carolina game, I want to say.
It is. Right. That is at Maryland that evening. Yeah, it's gonna be a big.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to go to that game. It's just disappointing. But I hope everyone who goes has a great time.
It will be packed in there.
it'll be a good game, and well, I hope it's a good game. If it'll be hopefully it's a good sign for Maryland. We shall see. The draft lottery though, 4 teams involved.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
I promise we're gonna talk about Diamond Miller. All right. 4 teams involved in the draft lottery: Indiana, Atlanta, Washington, and Minnesota. Washington is in there via the trade for the number 1 pick last year. Yeah. And so they get the third best odds here. So they do this out of 1,000 odds, and it's based off the combined records of the last 2 years.
Right.
So the operative team for Washington is actually Los Angeles, because Los Angeles' pick. So that's why they're third, rather than 4th behind Minnesota. But so Indiana has 442 chances out of 1,000 to get the number 1 pick.
Wow.
276 ping pong balls for Atlanta, 178 for Washington, 104 for Minnesota. So, this should be the year where the Indiana Fever get the number 1 pick. However,
I was going to say, I was waiting for you to say however, but go ahead, finish it out.
However, this has not happened for the last 3 years now. I think it's 3 years running where the Indiana has had the best odds and hasn't gotten it. So we can fantasize about whichever team we want. So tell me who you think the most fun team to win the draft lottery and have the chance to draft Aliyah Boston would be in your eyes.
Oh man, I have to go with Indiana. And I know,
it's the most exciting?
I think so. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Because last year they drafted 7 players, right? Mm-hmm. They kept 5 of those rookies on the team. So this is a team that is trying to continue to have traction and build and have that great energy. And they were in so many games last year, Gabe, but I think their inexperience did them in at the end of a lot of games. So I think they just need that one big piece, right? Which would be Aliyah Boston. But to come in there and really make a big difference for them, and they can grow and have her be a bookend, right?
Yeah.
Melissa Smith, you don't like that.
I just don't want to. I mean, no offense to the great people of Indiana. I'm dying to go to Assembly Hall. I don't want to have to go to WNBA Finals in Indiana.
Oh, it's great eats there too.
I know. I just I want to see Aliyah in the finals, and I don't necessarily need to go to Indiana. But it's not even that. It's to me. Here's the issue.
You don't think she fits there?
I think she fits there. I just don't. Okay. I'd rather her go to the better organization. I mean, no. I think we're on the right track with Indiana. Indiana with Lynn Dunn at the head. I think they're going to go in a better direction. I think they're done tanking. Hopefully, after this draft pick. But I just don't. I have to see more organizational fortitude there for me to say, hey, I want possibly the best. One of the best players in her generation. There's Asia Stewie. And some other players you want to put up there of this generation. And Aliyah actually might be in part of the next one. I don't know how y'all want to figure that out. But this is like the player of this generation, hopefully. So I don't want her to have to start off her career in possibly an adverse situation. To me, the most exciting team is the Atlanta Dream, actually.
That's an interesting.
So I thought I would say the Washington Mystics.
I thought you would too.
Because we're
okay, Atlanta.
So I thought I was gonna say the Washington Mystics because we obviously would get to watch her every single day, and that would be an absolute dream. So that for our selfish purposes, obviously we're hoping it's Washington. Yeah. But I did a draft simulation on Across the Timeline the other day. So you can go and do the draft lottery, and our guy Curtis has created a simulator for the WNBA draft.
Ooh.
And I did it, and the first time I did it, I got Atlanta. I was like, I felt it. I felt someone like spring forward from me. I was like, oh my God, if Atlanta got, Aliyah Boston and Ryan Howard, another player who's in that sort of generational category.
Right.
And with Tanisha Wright, who is she's shown some ability to be that leader and coalesce this team in a hurry. Like that team could compete soon.
Yeah.
That team could compete soon. And then we would have the courtside, the 2021 courtside dream team of Ryan Howard, Aliyah Boston, and Naz Hillman.
That's like Naz. Hey, Naz.
and I love Atlanta personally. It's like my second favorite city in the country. So for me, I think it's Indiana. If I'm taking out the selfishness of wanting it to be Washington.
Understood. I hear you. And I wouldn't be mad at that. I mean, another team that has some really great young pieces a year or two in, and another place where they could gain that traction is what I was talking about for Indiana. I think it would be great in Atlanta the same way. But I do think maybe just with you saying that, I think that Aliyah Boston would maybe fit there a little bit better in terms of schematically, right? With how they play and positions. Like, I mean, with, Queen Egbo and Melissa Smith in Indiana, like where would Boston kind of fit with those two, right? But then in Atlanta, what do you see in terms of the puzzle piece that she would fill for the dream?
I think if you get Aliyah Boston, you take whatever puzzle you got and you swipe it off the table. And you say, okay, we're building around her.
You dump the box out. You just
dump the box out. And like the fit at first, I think with Indiana could be awkward. I'm sure they'll figure it out. They're good basketball players, right? Like we said at the beginning when we were talking about Aliyah Boston, like she's gonna figure it out. Whatever the situation is, if she does not have a point guard, if she has to shoot threes, if she literally has to be the point guard, I would trust her to do that just because of how good of a basketball player and how hard of a worker she is.
Yeah.
But I think in Indiana it'll fit eventually, right? I mean, I think Melissa Smith and Aliyah Boston can work. Maybe Queen Egbo has to be, moved or something, or even she could be the backup center. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Rotational, put her in rotation. Yeah.
Or if they think she's too good for that, and she might be, they could get something for her. So, but I would say probably it works out, and you don't have to. And the thing with Indiana too, you don't have to worry about that year one. Forget you're not competing in year one.
No.
And personally, I don't think Atlanta. Yeah, I don't think Atlanta would compete year one. I don't think so.
No, I mean just going. I know we're not talking NBA, but I mean when Trae Young, went to Atlanta, and it's like, oh, okay, they need time, and it didn't take them a whole lot of time to, get going.
It worked fast.
But I mean, it is different for everybody, and what it feels like chemistry wise, and how things work. So the philosophy of the coach and all that, like you have to make sure it fits.
So in Washington though,
that would be fun, Gabe. And I know we're right here in the DMV, so DMV people, you hear us. I know you do, but wow, that would be.
I don't think the Mystics would trade that number one pick.
No, they wouldn't do that.
But it would. But speaking of a clunky fit, though, for the Mystics, if we're talking about Boston, that is kind of a clunky fit because you already have Aliyah Boston, you already have Shakira Austin. You may bring back Elizabeth Williams. There's a lot of bigs down there. Now, I've already pictured this in my mind of Elena Deladon at the 3.
Thank you. That's what I was getting ready to say. I'm like, she doesn't need to be getting beaten on down there. Move her off. Just what we were saying about Aliyah Boston. Like, hey, we don't need you covered with 3 guys down there. Get off the block and face.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now you're preserving your body too, right? You're not getting, I mean, I'm telling you, if I could go back and recreate myself as a player, I'd be on the perimeter. I'm not even joking.
Yes.
I mean, it's a bear to be playing and digging yourself out of the mud, or maybe that's just me. I don't know. I didn't really.
Oh.
I mean, it's a challenge physically. That's a battle down there, right? And I wasn't like, I wasn't the most muscular, person ever, but I was tall, so I would like go down there and play. I'm like, Lord have mercy. But that's why by my senior year, I was running some 3, and I loved it. They were like, run the 3 on this one. I was like, what?
Oh, Christy. If you came up now, you'd be like really on the perimeter.
I'd be out of the mud. I will tell you that.
You'd probably be handling the ball on the out. I mean, because you're how tall are you? You're
6'2"-ish.
Two.
Depends on my shoes.
You'd be like
6'2".
You'd be like Jordan Horston.
Yeah, but
something like that.
I never had to work on that though, because I was always opposed. So I'm like, okay, if this is my role, I'm going to perfect what the team needs from me. So I'm gonna post up. I'm gonna work on my post stuff in the off season. I'm doing this, and I tried to get some ball handling in, but it wasn't necessary for me to have that locked in. So yeah, when I went overseas, I put the ball on the floor more than I ever had my entire life, and it was very freeing, and I loved it. And I played a little outside over there too. So it's like, because it's a different style of game, more open floor. But I think, yeah, I mean, Elena Deladon at the 3.
Oh, I just had an idea.
Bigs down there. That would be
I'm
fun.
sorry. I'm sorry. I derailed your Mystics point. We can make you in 2K.
You can make me in 2K?
Well, we can create like a career player for women now. I haven't played the new 2K. I got to buy it.
But please make my shorts longer than they were.
Hey, the shorts are coming back up. We're coming back up on the shorts.
Extra mediums or whatever. I don't, I didn't particularly care for that though.
I do want to do one more thing on the draft lottery. We're gonna have a draft simulation right now. Here we go. We're drawing for the number 1 pick, and here he goes from across the timeline again. If you guys want to check this out, did Dream win the pick again? So Atlanta has the number 1 pick. Wow. Indiana should get the second one. I'm looking at it again. Indiana gets number 2.
Wow.
Let me speed this up.
Yeah, speed it up, Gabe. What do we have?
Okay, so So our lottery results are Atlanta number 1, Indiana number 2, Washington number 3, Minnesota number 4.
Interesting.
So, obviously the Dream are going to take Aliyah Boston.
Yeah.
Second straight number 1 pick from an SEC school, who has a chance to be a generational all-star. Oh my God. The number 2 pick, Indiana. I don't know. Actually, you know what? Give me a player. Well, no analysis. Give me a player they're going to take. I'll go with...
Don't take the one I'm thinking. I'm going first for a change.
Go.
Kitley.
I was thinking about it.
I finally decided. Look at me.
Yeah.
Deciding off the top instead of waiting.
I think we'll have to see if I was them, I'd probably take Haley Jones because I think this year she's gonna have a little bit more point guard duties, so she's gonna be just a little bit more dynamic on the perimeter. I think she would look really good with their talent that they already have. But Kitley's an amazing basketball player.
His footwork is phenomenal. Ask Debbie Antonelli. She was just in the gym. I saw that, Deb. Hey, Deb.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was in the gym and she was like, look at Kitley's footwork down here. I mean, she was going to work. It was good stuff.
Our guy Kenny Brooks. Yeah, I get Kenny on the pod. All right, Mystics number 3 pick. So you've taken Kitley. I've taken Jones. So Boston and Jones are gone for me. I think the Mystics trade this pick. Yeah, I think the Mystics.
Okay.
But since I'm making it,
you gotta go first this time.
I mean, part of me wants to say Ashley Jones. Part of me wants to say Diamond Miller. But I'm gonna go out on a limb. And I'm gonna speak it into existence. Zaya Cook. I think she's gonna bounce back. She's gonna show everyone what she's all about. I've been talking about her since the beginning of last tournament. Actually, since the beginning of last year, as one of the best players in the country. And she wasn't that last year. She's gonna do it this year. And I think she gets into that top. I think she gets into the lottery. I don't know. That's a big hot take. We got to clip that one.
But I'm not mad at it though. I love her game, but I think Diamond Miller, like when you're talking about what Mike Tebow likes, he loves 3 and D. Mm-hmm. She can do both of those, right? Yeah. I think, I know last year was injury riddled, but her ability and her length to get to the rim too, like we're talking about a kid who can, really open up the floor in a lot of ways. And when I say that, I'm not saying, just with her 3-point shooting ability, but you're going to have to close out on her.
or she's going to explode by you and stretch out with those long arms and get to the rim. So I just think that, you know, she brings a lot to the table defensively. She gets in gaps. She's aggressive on the glass, and she's long. I think, you know, that's another, like, Ariel Atkins. Can you imagine Ariel Atkins and Diamond Miller on the floor together? And how
and Natasha Cloud
that would be, and Cloud, but I'm saying, like, on the wings, like, we know Cloud. I mean, that's a given. I mean, you know, first team all defensive in the WNBA this past year, and 7 assists a game for her as well. All my nuggets are coming out from WNBA. But anywho, but just imagine Diamond Miller and Ariel Atkins on the wings, and then Cloud at the top too. Like, come on. And I just think she brings so much energy to the floor, and she's healthy. You know, last year, I mean, even when she came back, I don't think that she was 100%. And she was just driving on adrenaline, you know, because physically she wasn't quite up to par. And so she's had surgery on her knee, cleaned that up. She's ready to go. And I think she's really on par to have a really strong senior season. And if that's the case, I would not be surprised if Mike Thibault makes that call.
She fits what they need. I want to see a little bit more refinement in her game. She has to come back. And same with Zaya. Like, both those players are going to come back and show that they can actually do the things that we're saying to you that they can. But I think we're both pretty confident in both those players. That we'll see. I don't know how long I'm going to stick to that Zaya Cook take, but I want to say it. All right, number four here. Man, this is a tough choice for Minnesota.
It is,
because Minnesota have number 4. I don't know. I think Kitley's still on my board.
Oh,
I'm going Kitley.
She's off.
I'm going Kitley, right? Like, they lost Sylvia Fowles. They need a new center. I think she can be. They still want to run her. They still want to run low post offense. I think that's gonna be a staple of what they do as long as Cheryl Reeves there. So I think Kitley works, and I think Kitley can expand out. Kitley has more perimeter skills than a lot of people have noticed. So I think we're gonna see that come out a little bit more. But I would say Kitley would be my pick here if I was Minnesota.
I like that, and for all the reasons that you said, I agree. Straight down the line. Look at me agreeing straight down the line. Like, no, like this, but not that. No, everything. I agree with it, but I'm going to go with Ashley Jones. Like, I just think that, you know, she fits the bill there too. Another player who can score the ball for them. And I know Cheryl Reeves likes consistency when it comes to that. And I think she brings that to the table. I mean, she's a gym rat, a workhorse, and that's what is needed at the next level, right? Again, another player who wants to compete and do well, and not just say, well, I made it to the league. No, it's like, you made it to the league, and you better, you know, it's sink or swim time, right? You better swim fast and swim hard. So I just think that she would be a good pick for her.
Yeah, and she has to stay in the Midwest, and that'd be cool for her. Their fan base, you know, I think Iowa State has a really big fan base, and they would come out. And she could shoot that thing, you know.
So, she could shoot that thing, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if she can do that consistently well, and get into her shooting pocket, and I know she will. Like, you know, we've seen that with Minnesota and how they play with great pace, but they also play with great consistency. And I think when they had some lulls this past season, it's because they didn't get the shots to fall. Right. And she would kind of fix that level of droughts within games that we saw from Minnesota this past season.
Yeah, and they were second to last in 3-pointers attempted. This year. They're middle of the road. So that could be a really big area where they could get better if they pick Ashley Jones. So those are a little mock draft. We did a little mock draft there.
I like that.
Look at us. So we did a little mock draft. Again, that's on November 11th, the draft lottery. After that, I'm writing a mock draft for herhoopstats.substack.com. So good. Well, I'm going to promote it. Don't worry. I promote everything. But just want to get into the draft lottery just because I think by the time we get to November, like before then, we're not going to be able to talk about it because we're going to have real games. Real games, Christy.
Games.
All right. Speaking of games, I wanted to point out a couple because we are running out of time for the last part of this discussion. Just a couple games that everyone should watch. On November 14th, there's actually 2. I only put 1. It would be Texas at UConn. Should be awesome. I think Texas is better than UConn. I think Texas is going to be one of the best teams in the country. They have to prove it in Gamble against UConn, right? So that's at 6:30 at 6. It's Indiana at Tennessee. If you're a basketball nut, long time. I mean, that's basketball heaven. I don't know how much better you could get than that.
Why not? It's going to be phenomenal.
And then on All right. So then those are the couple that I have. November 20th. This is the day. Put this in your calendar, everyone.
Mark it down.
Actually, no, I'm gonna give you a second. Let's give them a second. Pull out your calendars.
Put it in your phone. Let's go.
Okay. You've pulled out your calendar. November 20th, you're watching basketball all day. There's just an amazing array of basketball. I wrote about this. Actually, let me pull up what I wrote about what's going to happen on this day. But the headliner, and this is the only one that you possibly need to know, is South Carolina at Stanford. Game of the regular season last year. It's probably going to be the game of the regular season this year. Two best teams in the country, two best programs in the country, and in one of the best rivalries in the country right now. Yeah. So that's the headliner that you gotta watch, right?
Gotta do it.
I think that's for the whole early season. I'm talking early season to me is before Thanksgiving.
Agreed.
So that's the one that you gotta watch, and the rest of the games on November 20th are wild too because the battle for Atlantis starts. So there we got Louisville, we got Gonzaga, we got Tennessee, we got Rutgers, we got UCLA, South Dakota State, Texas, Marquette. Though all of those games are going to be good. Yes. Then we also have a game of Maryland going to Baylor. Last year, a really fun game. This year should be another really fun game.
That Maryland, yeah.
And then here's why this is why this day is really special to me. Well, first off, Miami.
Your birthday game?
No, it's not. Okay. Miami plays DePaul, so obviously Miami's in it. But Miami DePaul is gonna be a really good game. Right. Then we got good old fashioned hate between Georgia and Georgia Tech. My wife went to Georgia Tech, so it's gonna be a fun day there.
Fun day.
But here's the real things. 3 ranked teams going on the road to face smaller programs. We got number 12 UNC going to James Madison, going to Harrisonburg, where Virginia lost last year, if you recall.
They did.
Number 25 Michigan going to Fairfield to visit Carly Tebow. That could be an interesting game too. Oklahoma, number 15, traveling to Texas. Arlington, UTA almost pulled off a really big upset last year against Iowa State in the tournament. Shakira Wright has that program going in the right direction. That's the one that kind of messes up a lot of people's preseason predictions if UTA wins that game, and they totally can. So that's why, to me, I love, the headliners are great, but it's Thanksgiving, right? It's not just about the turkey. The turkey, that's not the best thing on the plate here.
Right.
You gotta get everything.
Gotta get
everything.
Little scoops of all of it.
So we'll talk more about that day when it comes by. But I wanted you guys to get that in your calendars. Wait, let me everyone in the comments, if y'all better have this in your calendars.
Put it in there.
I want to know. Send me pictures on Twitter at Gabe Ibrahim.
Yeah, and I'll retweet it.
All right, Christy, that's all I got. If you want to talk about anything else?
No, man, I'm just excited for the season. Oh my gosh, basketball right around the corner, and shout out to Playa Society, and their day ones, so. Or
as I like to call them, Playa Society, because it's very confusing for someone from Miami.
Oh,
to say that in English.
Hey, either way you say it, day one, you can just say
Playa Society. Shout out.
Shout out. But anyway, thank you all for joining us right here live on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network for Courtside with Christy and Gabe. We will check in with you next time with real hoops. Oh my God, it's almost time, y'all, for the college basketball season.
Oh wait! No show next week. Sorry, no show next week. I'm gonna be in Miami.
No show next week. Okay.
Then we'll be back the following week when we have actual games.
See, we'll be back the following week. See, well,
you were right.
But yeah, okay. That's what I knew we had talked about it. That's why I was like, no, it's fine. We're still out here. Look, okay. Gabe's going to be in Miami vacationing. And so we'll be back the following week to break down all of the first week of college hoops. It's going to be dicey. It's going to be fire. And we cannot wait to share the conversation with you about all those great games coming up. And we'll be right here. Hope you will be too. For Gabe Ibrahim, I'm Christy Winter Scott, and we will see you next time.